So, how are you handling stress in light of the COVID-19 pandemic? Hi, I'm Joseph with Joseph Alexander Media. I run a video production company here in Berks County that focuses on producing video content for businesses on social media. I'm also running this project called Social Through Distance. The idea behind this project is that I would sit down with business owners via Zoom or Skype or what have you and discuss their business strategies and how they're handling things during this pandemic. This episode is in reference to a conversation I had a few months ago with Claire Farrar. Claire is a business owner who focuses on homeopathic remedies for your body, as well as being a Doterra consultant. In this episode, we talk about her story, how she's shifting things during this pandemic, as well as how people can be using essential oils to help alleviate things like depression and anxiety during a stressful time such as this. Now, before we go into this episode, I do want to clarify some things. Claire is not a doctor, and she makes no reference to being a doctor. You're going to hear where she has made some medical changes for her and her family. This was things that she has done and things that she is not necessarily recommending that you do. So please keep that in mind as you're listening to this episode. So without further ado, let us dive in. You're Claire Farrar, and your business deals with essential oils. Can you talk a little bit about your business, what you do, who you are as a company, and what you provide as a service to other people?
So I specifically work with Doterra essential oils. I chose to partner with them and use their products based on their sourcing practices, their testing practices on their oils, and the overall integrity of the company. So they have very high regard in their company, and they have a very quality product, and they really pride themselves on that. I started using them 5.5 years ago or so. So my two oldest kids, who are 5 and 6 now, were very little babies. And I basically very quickly started my own business with the oils because I was constantly helping people with the oils. So it just made sense for me to kind of continue down that path, because at the time I was home with my kids anyway. So it worked. What I do is, and like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is I meet with people, I teach classes, and we talk about what's going on health-wise in their lives. And we try to get to the bottom of that by using natural solutions. So yes, I use essential oils, but I also am pretty homeopathic in general. That's just taking me on a natural path. So, whether it's acid reflux and using some of the oils, but also apple cider vinegar, or cleaning your home, in a green way, in a natural way where you're not breathing in harsh chemicals. It might be some of our products. It might include some distilled white vinegar, things like that. So really, it's a case-by-case basis. And when people come to me wanting to use essential oils, they're generally in a place to want to find the root cause of a problem and stop using medications like an RX or an over-the-counter medication because of the harsh side effects they might be experiencing. I know that was the case for me and many others that I've talked to. So that's kind of the gist of where it begins. But that's definitely the very beginning of a journey with the products and with me, because once we start that, we definitely are together for a long time. And some people, some of my best friends I've met just by being customers. So that journey could last even longer.
Now, you said you got started using them first, and then you started working in the company. What made you start using them, and what was the result of you using them? Like, what were some of the benefits that you were finding in using essential oils from Doterra?
So the first reason was my daughter, who's 5.5 now. She was only a couple weeks old at the time, maybe like 8 weeks. And she had a cold. And then my son got a cold because he was only like 14 or 15 months at the time. They're really close in age. So they were getting everything together, but you really can't do anything for a baby when they're sick. You can't give them anything over the counter if you wanted to. And they say suction, saline, and steam. So, of course I was doing that. We were clearing her out, but she would go to bed at night and she couldn't roll over or move yet. And she was getting stuffed up again and coughing. And I just felt terrible for her. So my friend who was using a lot of oils for a lot of different things with her son was like, why don't you try the essential oils? And I had no idea what essential oils were. So she like broke it down for me, which she knew at the time. And since then, her and I have learned a lot together. But she kind of gave me a little care package with a diffuser and some of the oils to help, open up the lungs and clear the junk. And I was just amazed. Like that first night, my baby slept all night. She was breathing clearly. She didn't wake up all stuffed up. And I didn't have to give her anything that was, I was basically strengthening her immune system and keeping her cells healthy while helping her get better, instead of the latter, which is you're usually, if you're taking any over-the-counter medication, you're killing cells in the process of trying to make something else better, which I went down a rabbit hole kind of very immediately after that experience to learn things like that. And then that's when I was like, I want to get off of acid reflux medication, because I had been on acid reflux medication for 20 years at the time. And that is really unacceptable. Nobody should be on those medications for that long of a period of time. It really wreaks havoc on your gut and your body. And they're just meant to be short-term, Band-Aids in the process of answering a long-term goal and taking care of a root problem. So I went down the rabbit hole with that, and thankfully I've been off reflux medication for almost 7 years. 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Had to think about my age for a second. I'm like, I was on those medications for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's great. And that's a result of using the essential oils in a sense. Wow. That's crazy. Well, what's something about your business that's really changed during these last few months with everything going on with COVID and everything else?
Well, like many other ones, and like what's going on with any of us, is just the human touch. I mean, just going virtually in general is a change. And I can do a lot virtually. It's not that it can't be done. It's just you're dealing with people's health. So I want to, and anybody that I'm partnered with generally wants to be with people and in front of them and talking to them personally, not talking to them through a screen. I mean, I meet with people and they tell me about some of like their craziest health ailments, or stuff that's really personal that might be going on that they're trying to, find a root cause or a not cure, help for, basically. So not meeting with people and talking to people in person is a very big difference, like when it all comes online and virtually.
Sure.
That's been big.
No, I think a lot of people can relate to that, because there's a certain vibe you can get from different people while you're interacting with them, and you can really like find a way to connect with that emotion. But if you're just talking on the phone, or even with this, like, even though we're still seeing each other and we're still connecting, it can sometimes be difficult to really connect to that person, and being in the same room with them helps so much.
No, 100%. And we know each other, so it's different. Like we're friends, so we already have like a rapport. But if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, and now it may have to be like with referrals or something like that, it might have to be virtual, I can do the best that I can. And it's not like, hopefully I come off friendly and nice and people want to talk to me, but it's not the same. You're right. It's not the same as getting those other things you pick up on when you meet people that you can only get in person.
But what are some of the things that you have seen to be essential and proven to be a benefit in having essential oils in your house during this time while you're locked in the house with like 3, 4, 5 other people?
Well, that answer is a little bit twofold. one, for the immediate duration right now, knock on the fake wood on my table, we've all been healthy in our house right now. So everybody has not come down with anything. There haven't been, any issues coming up health-wise. But the other side of that is, I think it's also a result of using the oils consistently for the past 5 years, because I've seen the difference starting years ago where, one, we've been healthier, and then when we have come down with something, the duration of our illness or whatever was going on has been shorter and shorter and shorter as the years have gone on. So it didn't surprise me that this winter we've had a very healthy winter. Nobody's had any issues. And now with being quarantined, we're just all kind of staying healthy and sticking with it. So I think that's like the biggest thing that I've seen lately is we're all kind of just doing okay with that.
Some people have talked about when using essential oils, there's different health risks, obviously, with things like ingesting and things like that. You have to be careful. But during this time, is there any health risks that really come about in using essential oils when you're locked in the house with so many people?
The simple answer is no. There's not health risks. I can only speak from Doterra standards because I know their product and their testing, and that what's in that bottle is definitely 100% certified pure therapeutic grade essential oil in that bottle. So my kids ingest oils. We use oils topically, diffusing. All of it all day long. So we've had no problems. Literally the only risk you could have is maybe a skin sensitivity if you didn't, there are some oils that are a little bit hotter, like a cinnamon or clove or oregano. Those things, that herb itself would be hot. If you stuck that on your tongue or something, if you stuck a piece of oregano on your tongue, it would have a spice to it. So a drop of oregano is several times more potent than the herb. So if you put that on your skin, undilute it, you might get a little red or get a little itchy. Nothing that would hurt you. You would just take some coconut oil and dilute it out and you'd be fine. But that's the only issue you would ever have. But no, right now, I think that essential oils are really the way to go to really strengthen your immune system and keep yourselves healthy during this time to help your body protect against anything that's kind of coming at it.
You and I have also talked before about how it can be a benefit for other things like anxiety and depression, loneliness, different things like that. How is using essential oils when you're feeling these ways? How is that a benefit to helping your mentality and helping your focus?
So we've been dealing with that a lot in our house, and I've talked to a lot of people that are dealing with the same thing right now. And that's the anxiety and stress that's coming with this time. None of us know what's going to happen, or, there's no foreseeable definite answer, which is really shaking everybody, I think. And people that didn't even have anxiety per se before are maybe experiencing those things now, and it's a very big surprise to them. And they don't really know how to handle those feelings. Personally, we're using a line from Doterra called Adaptive. And that is a capsule, an essential oil blend to diffuse, and then a roller ball to use on you topically. And basically it's called Adaptive because the blend of oils that are in the actual oil, and then the blend of oil and other ingredients that are in the capsule are made to help your body adapt to stress and anxiety in a better way and without the side effects that can come from traditional medications. So we had an anxiety medication in our home, and we looked up the side effects because we wanted to not have that in our home anymore. And we were wondering what was going on. And some of the side effects of an anxiety medication were anxiety.
Right.
So, okay. Why? Anxiety, headache, tremors, stomach pain, drowsiness, nausea, vomiting, blurred vision, confusion, irritability, paranoia, psychomotor agitation, rash, and itching. And that is just to name a few. That is not, it's only one screenshot of the 2 lists of side effects of this medication.
Jeez.
So by switching over to adaptive, we can have a blend that will help regenerate cells, keep cells healthy, and not have those awful side effects. So basically, you can hopefully be yourself with less anxiety. Because right now that medication was making that person not themselves, and not really helping the anxiety as much, because one of the side effects is anxiety. So I don't know if anybody else is confused by that, but I was very confused by that. And it's just not something that I want to have in my house, because it's in this situation, everything is heightened. And that's kind of why we were looking at those side effects the other day and realizing that more now, because everything's at a much more heightened state than it ever has been. So sorry, there's just like a little soapbox, but the stress and anxiety thing has been like on my heart for a couple weeks now, because I've just seen a lot of people going through it, and it doesn't seem to be getting better yet. And now it's also starting in the kids. So then it really grabs my heartstrings.
No, I totally understand that. Like, it's stress and anxiety is something I've dealt with in my personal life, depression, things like that. And so being in isolation, I know for a fact doesn't help. In fact, I've worked for a couple of mental health facilities in my work history. And the number one things they tell you is when you start feeling anxious or start feeling depressed is to break apart from that isolation. And now with the CDC and everybody else telling us to isolate for our own health and our own safety, it's a challenging place to be. So now obviously you want to be careful when it comes to getting off medication. Just need to reiterate that just in case anybody's looking at this, you want to check with your doctor and everything else like that before you fully pull yourself off of it.
Yeah, of course. And just to stamp that even further, I'm dealing with somebody in my home and my family. So those are decisions that we made together. When I talk to anybody else about that, about things like this, we kind of go through all the options together, and then it's their personal decision and choice to talk to their doctor and see how they want to go about that. So I appreciate you saying that, because no, I'm not a doctor, and I would never tell anybody, just drop your medication and just start using this, because that's not safe, and that's not safe for somebody's body especially with a lot of those medications. You can't just stop them. You'll be in a worse off situation. So if they're very serious about getting off of a medication and trying to go on a more natural approach, I always recommend getting a doctor that will do that with you. Some doctors will just say no, because they just don't know anything about, homeopathic ways. And some doctors go the extra mile and want to know more about homeopathic ways, and they've studied it maybe, or they're more apt to help you. But I would find a MD that will help you. And then that can be, an integrative situation.
So you talked about a couple of different ways on how to use essential oils. You've talked about topical and a couple of different other things. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit? How could somebody right now be using essential oils in their house, in dealing with different moods, dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression? What are some of the techniques that are used when it comes to essential oils?
Sure. The first and easiest way to start, and what we do in our house every single day, especially now more so than ever, because of course, when we're not quarantined, we're generally up and out the door. So we're not in the house for the morning and stuff. But now we are using our diffusers more than ever. We've always all had diffusers in our bedrooms and downstairs, but now it's a very regular part of our routine to be setting up the diffusers downstairs every morning. If you don't know what a diffuser is, kind kind of looks like a mini humidifier. They're generally about like this big or so, depending on what you get. And it ionizes the oil and sends it out into the air so that we can breathe it in. When you breathe something in, it immediately hits like your frontal cortex. It goes all throughout your body. Diffusing can affect every part of your body. So it can affect you for emotions, for nausea, like all different ailments you can help with diffusing. So we have a diffuser in the kitchen. We have a diffuser in our main living space, and we set those up every day, usually with the adaptive right now because of what's going on. And then like a citrus oil, we've been using like wild orange or lime, are our favorite citrus oils, because citrus oils are always uplifting. They will immediately uplift your emotions. They will immediately uplift your spirits. But they're also, like, a wild orange is also calming to the nervous system. So that it gives you the uplifting and calming at the same time, which is great. So diffusing is very easy. It's a very simple way to do it, kind of like set it and forget it, and not really have to think about it, but you're getting all the benefits of the essential oils throughout the day. We diffuse overnight, so we'll put like our sleepy, relaxing oils in the diffuser at night, but then I'll always include an immune boosting oil in that blend as well, so that, when you're sleeping is when all your cells want to regenerate, and when, some of the best things are happening in your body. That's why getting adequate sleep is so great for your body and mind. So if you're putting an immune strengthening oil in that blend, you're strengthening your immune system overnight while your cells are regenerating, which is great. And the other way we've been using them is topically. So you probably heard me mention a roller ball. A roller ball literally looks how it sounds. It's like a little, those old school perfume roller balls, if you will. You would put a little bit of essential oil in there and then some fractionated coconut oil. Fractionated coconut oil stays liquid, unlike your regular coconut oil that you would cook with. It's not hard. It's non-greasy. And it has no scent. So it's a nice dilution, what they call a carrier oil for an essential oil. And we have all different roller balls, but we have definitely like a huge kind of like immune boosting one. It has like 5 or 6 oils in it we're using on our spines and our feet every day. Putting oils in your spine and feet help get the oil to the body system that it needs to go to, due to your nerve endings, and your nerves shoot out from your spine and they end at your feet. So it helps them get there. So if you put it on your spine, it'll get to where it needs to be. So we start with that, and then we have other emotional oils throughout the day. So of course we have our adaptive roller ball, and then we have some other, like our happy blends that might just have like some wild orange and some lavender, just things that are calming and uplifting to use topically throughout the day. I like to use my stuff topically, like on my wrists, which are some like pressure points, but I also like to put stuff right here on my collarbone, because then I kind of get like a personal diffuser all day long. People put perfume on behind their ears, and you're kind of doing the same thing with your roller ball, and it's getting to where it needs to be, but you're also kind of smelling it all day, and smell is just so incredible. I mean, smelling something can change your emotions in a minute.
Right now, somebody's new to essential oils or whatever, with everything going on, obviously things are kind of shut down, but if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to have more of a conversation, figure out if they could start applying it to their life, what are some things that they can do to reach out to you, or anything along those lines?
First touch I like to make with somebody is giving them a sample. Just figuring out, all right, what are you looking to try to, they might be like, well, I'm not sleeping well, my digestive tract sucks, blah, blah, blah. There might be 5 things, but it's like, all right, well, why don't I help you sleep? Like, let's do that first, and let's get you a sample, and let's see how you're feeling. And then the next step would be now attending a virtual class. We're doing a lot of Zoom classes. So, and it would just be attending a basic, we call them essential oils made easy, just to get all of this information, because and of course I meet with people one-on-one as well, so I kind of do what I would do in a class, but with somebody on FaceTime, and if I'm allowed to if we're not in isolation, we might meet at Starbucks or something like that and talk about these things, or I might go to somebody's house. But right now, I will definitely be having regular Zoom classes where people can click and check in here and hear the information. And, that's, everybody should start with that class, because that's where you get the basics: how essential oils work in your body, where they come from, what they do, how to use them, aromatically, topically, and ingesting. What are the parameters on that? That's where you get all that like foundational information. And then once we are working together, there's several continuing education classes. So on Thursday night, like this Thursday night, I'm teaching a Zoom class that's My Oils Are Here Now What? So that means you've gotten your oils, you've been to a class, you've gotten some oils. What do I do now? I've opened the box, I haven't done anything, or I've opened the box and I've diffused, or whatever that is. That's like, should be your next step. And then from there, there's several other things to learn. And we take that in pieces so that there's no overwhelm, and people can take things at their own pace as well.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that you do the education alongside of the selling. Like, as much as you want to sell, you still want to make sure that people are educated as much as possible during this whole time and during everything that's going on.
The education is number one. I mean, the education is what I do. I don't think I've ever said to somebody, I sell essential oils, because I don't feel like that's never what I want it to do. And that doesn't feel like what I do. I use Doterra. I think you should use Doterra. And here's all the education and information behind it. So if you're not getting the education, I'm doing you a huge disservice, and you're not going to be safe. You're not going to be able to use things to your full potential. You're not going to know what to give your baby very quickly in the middle of the night when they're having an ear problem. Like, you might go to the ER, and I feel like, you can prevent some of those trips with having just some of those tools in your hands, but you have to know how to use them and what to do.
That's awesome. Well, Claire, I appreciate your time. And somebody reaching out to you, what is some contact info that they can use to reach out to you? Obviously, you said Facebook, Instagram, like all these different things, but what's a specific address that they can use to reach out to you?
The best way to get a hold of me would be on email, claire@oil.mama.com. That's CLAIRE. Oil.mama is OILEDUPMAMA. And then Instagram is oil.mama, and my Facebook page is oil.mama as well. So it should be pretty easy to find me. Just look for the oil.mama. Awesome.
Do you have any closing thoughts before we end this portion of the live stream, or this portion of the stream?
No, just be safe out there. And I just really encourage people to do their own research, think with their own mind. A lot of things that have been coming up is just, there's a lot of stuff in the media to fish through. And we just want to make sure we're making the best informed decisions for our families, and ourselves, and just make sure that somebody's not doing that for you. So, I always tell people when I talk to them about essential oils and Doterra, you can believe me because I'm standing here in front of you telling you it, but this is all information that you can find on your own as well, from very reputable sources like Consumer Reports or PubMed. So let's just make sure we're going to those reputable sites and places. And if you need anything, I'm happy to help you find those places as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Claire. I appreciate your time. I hope this was beneficial to you. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you were able to get something out of this episode for you or your business. There's going to be links down below where you can contact today's guest, as well as a place where you can listen to this episode in its entirety, either on YouTube or some other podcast. But for now, hopefully this was beneficial, and we will see you next time.